I want to welcome my PLUs and the Self Love Society to Make Love to You, the podcast where healing is both messy and powerful, and you don't have to do it alone. I'm your host, Darnell Davis, and this is a 4-part series called Healing in Real Time. As I approach my 50th birthday, I found myself in a season of pain, of questions, of searching. And instead of hiding it, I wanted to open up the process to you. I wanted to invite you into the journey, into the raw conversations, into the tools, into the voices that are helping me heal right now. As this series progresses, you'll hear from a psychotherapist, you'll hear from a spiritual medicine man, you'll hear from a priest, you'll hear from an astrologer, all offering their grounding tools, their perspectives, their wisdom. Together, it's a living map of what healing looks like when it's not neat or polished, but unfolding in real time. So let's step into it together.
The mailman's here, got the vibe on cue. Talking about love like it's fresh and new. Self-care's the jam, yeah, that's the deal. Love yourself hard, let you.
I want to start this series off where it all began with me, and that's with therapy. Therapy wasn't something that I grew up thinking was an option. But when my father killed my mom at 10 years old, my grandparents immediately put us in therapy. I remember thinking to myself, why do I have to talk about this? But my grandmom always said, you have to talk the pain out. So over time, I realized that talking the pain out was actually helping, especially with somebody who's trained to listen. So today, I want to step into this series with Dominique, a psychotherapist who I deeply trust. And I want this to be an invitation to you that healing isn't something that you have to do alone. Most of us, if we're honest, we have someone that will listen if we let them in. Choosing to go through it alone is just that. It's a choice. And it's not always the choice that brings relief and understanding. This conversation is not about perfection. It's not about having all the answers. It's about acknowledging the pain. It's about giving it a voice and seeing the strength that emerges when you let somebody in. So let's start here. Let's talk about the pain. Let's talk about the healing. And let's do it together. Here's part 1 of a 4-part series. Okay, y'all, I want to welcome my first guest today. It is Dominique Andres Fickling, who is a board-certified dance movement psychotherapist. Our eyes are trained to see what our words cannot express. And Dominique, I couldn't tell you actually I can tell you, and I'm gonna tell you right now, how much I appreciate you being here today. How much I appreciate you answering my call 3:30 in the morning last night when I called in distress. I said, Dom, I need your therapeutic love, your light, your help.
Yes.
And you answered immediately. So thank you so much for being here. And how are you today?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. When you hit me up, something told me to answer, right? And so I'm just following the call. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to support you. And this is new. This is groundbreaking, huh?
Yes, especially for me. I created Make Love to You as a reflection, to basically use my pain, use my story, use my journey to help other people heal as best I could. And I created 111 episodes
Mhm.
of Make Love to You. I feel like we were at a beautiful momentum. Everything was going just great. But my last episode, it was extremely personal. It hit me so hard. It was a love letter to my best friend who passed away. She was suffering depression and she let go July 12th of last year. And I created an episode on the anniversary of her death, July 12th of this year. The episode was very personal, but what I didn't expect was for it to open up so many old wounds that I had not spoken about with anybody. Because she has a family, children, a husband, I didn't want to speak about how her death affected me. So I kind of just held it in.
Okay.
And creating that episode opened up a lot of wounds. And personally, I've been actually about 3 days after she passed away last year, I started to go into a spiral. But I
Mm-hmm.
had so many other things happening. I had the
Like
release
what?
of my book
Okay.
coming up in October. I had an app that actually she helped me develop that I was about to release. I had this podcast
Mm-hmm.
coming. I had so many projects that I was so proud of that as my finances were slipping, I didn't even like try to grab a hold of it or try to get control of it.
Right.
I guess sometimes in my life I welcome chaos, because it's just what I'm used to. And I speak about this in one of my episodes as well. But to summarize it really quick and make a long story short, I found
Mm-hmm.
myself at the end of last year almost completely depleted of all my funds, my savings, everything that I worked so hard for. That when I finally finished the book and released it on the anniversary of my mother's death,
Mm-hmm.
October 29th, I didn't even have the funds to promote it. So
Wow.
I didn't do any promotion. I just kind of let things fall by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as I've been approaching my 50th birthday, I haven't recorded another episode since of the podcast since July 12th. Found
Wow.
myself spiraling into this depression. And I'm a very isolated person. I know people all over the world. I have friends, love people who love me all over the world. I've lived all over the world, so I have strong connections, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't share the things that I'm going with at the moment with
Right.
anybody. But
Right.
I do have a couple clients here in Miami, and one of my clients who I shared what I was going through, he says, Nelly, this is the perfect time to create the next episode of your podcast.
That's
You
how it
know,
sounds.
right while you're in it,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I just felt like there's no way because
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have the words for myself to
Mm-hmm.
figure this out. So how can I share that with anybody else? So I started to fall more and more and more into this isolation. And then in the middle of the night last night, I got a download and it said, "Now figure it out, heal in front of everybody."
Mm. Mm.
So I reached out to you. I reached out to my astrologer friend. I reached out to my medicine man. I reached out to a comedian. I
Right. You
reached out
see?
to everybody and all of the ways where I know how to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out for y'all help. And the crazy thing is, I haven't talked to any of y'all in so long, but everybody in the middle of the night said, "No, we're here for you." So,
Ready.
Dom, thank you so much for being here for me right now. Please fix me.
Check. Copy. Done. I got you. I wanted to just kind of reel it in where I am so proud of you for acknowledging and answering your download, right? It's so interesting, like when we're going through depressive state, I like to say state because that is kind of giving us a time period, right? How long it goes for. Sometimes your states could be months, it could be years, it could, right? So in that moment, when your friend reached out and said, "This is it. You gotta go for it, man." Because I'm embodying him. I'm embodying him,
No,
right?
it's kind of like that. It's kind of
I
like
love it. I love
that.
it. We needed that. You needed that. You are, as you told me the list of people who are going to be on this special episode, I was like, oh my God, we represent you, parts of you, right? You are a natural born comedian. You light up
Funny, I'm a little funny.
the environment. You have an amazing smile. You are naturally funny. You see, humor, I think, is a way that you cope, right? Then you have the therapist part. You are a coach, a life coach. You are very a healing person. So that's what my component is, and your part of like one of your pillars and representations of you. Then we have the astrologer, right? You are connected. If they don't know by now, they know not to touch. Okay, step away, step on, right? You are a Virgo. We know, right? Those that know you, that you let in, keyword, let in. And then finally, thinking about the medicine, right? Your water is your medicine, your daily practice. That's how you convene with your people, right? So it's not by design, and I want to help you, and I want to ask you some questions of like, what did you notice in your body when you were going through your depressive state?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I didn't pay attention exactly to my
Mm-hmm.
body before you asked that question. But what I realized is recently I have been having excruciating pains when I wake up in the morning in my leg.
Hmm.
And it's funny that, I'm carrying this pain in my body right now.
Right.
So
Current.
I guess to answer your question, yes, I am having excruciating pain in my leg for some reason. But after I move a little bit, it does go away. By the time I get to the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
in the morning when I do my group chat in the ocean every morning, I do a group chat with my mother, God, and my inner child.
I love that group.
So by the time I get to the ocean, it start to dissipate a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that I guess I'm feeling this pain in my leg.
Right. So we're on to something, right? I want to, of course, ask a little bit more leading questions and not yes or no, right? I want paying attention to the body is my first, I guess, line of defense, right? So the first is the self. And that's why I ask you. In many ways, with dance movement therapy, we think, oh, you're going to do a count of 8 and be like Bob Fosse and just be like, bam, 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 which we could,
Yeah,
but we're
yeah.
not doing that. And I'm more focused on what the words cannot say, right? So I'm looking at the whites of your eye. I'm looking at your body shape, how you're leaning forward. I'm noticing if there was anything in your tone, if there's a hesitancy, is there shakiness, is it a confidence, right? Or is this a guttural cry out for help, right? So these are all these things that I'm watching, all while being here, and then we're at telehealth, right? So we're here. So I have to be even more perceptive, in which that's why I feel like I'm a superhero in many ways because I'm paying attention to those things that are happening on in your body. So I want to know, as you were in your state, what were the things that you noticed? Like, how was your appetite? Where was your self grooming, your self care? How was that? How did that look?
My appetite, more recently, as I've gotten to, I think the closer I got to today, my 50th birthday, the appetite started to slide a little bit more. First, the appetite was, I was kind of like stress eating, is what I realized. But now I realized yesterday I had one meal. I'm not eating as much. It's funny as well that you mentioned the self-care. I groom myself, but I'm known for my fashion sense as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized this morning, because every single morning I go after I do my ritual at the ocean, I walk my dog to Fresh Market
Okay.
and I get sharp to go to the market.
I'm
And I realized today that, before I went, I typically, over the last couple weeks that I've been sliding to this depression,
mm-hmm.
I wasn't getting dressed. I was simply just wearing a denim vest with no shirt under it. I would put
Mm-hmm.
my rings and my necklace on,
The bare
uh,
minimum,
the bare
the bare
minimum.
minimum, because your
And
bare minimum is still fashionable, right? So let's make that. You got to
yeah,
make a
I ain't gonna lie,
distinction,
it is, it is.
right? So yours is not like it's not like, but you know your potential. You know where you could
It
take it.
was just this morning where I said, yo, and even though I did get dressed, it still wasn't now, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like for some, what I had on, it might look nice, to some people, but it wasn't me.
That's it.
And that's the whole thing. Maybe because of this overwhelming sense of rejection that I'm feeling, I'm not even putting forth the effort.
Right. Rejection. That's deep. Okay.
And
So
I
now,
say rejection because it seems like every single thing that I'm trying to do
mhm,
is being met with some type of rejection, with some
mhm,
type of resistance. When I realized that my finances were basically depleted, I reached out to a good friend, an investor as well,
mhm,
and he simply just said, no, I can't help
mm,
you at all. I reached out to clients that I have been working with for so long who I haven't worked with in a long time because I didn't want to be a coach. I didn't want to be a trainer anymore. And then when I would reach out to people, they're not in town or they're not available. Or I
mhm.
reached out to my agent for my book and his workload is too much right now. It just seems like every single thing that I have tried to do is being met with some type of resistance.
Right,
Even to a
resistance.
point where, like I said, I was saying to somebody earlier, I feel like I feel like somebody put some type of bad juju on me or something. Like,
Mm,
I don't know what's going on, but it's adding to this depression that I'm feeling right now.
right, right, right. So rejection is a quality, it's a characteristic of overarching depression, right? Where they have shame, we have guilt, we have all of those things, lack of grooming, right? They're under the umbrella, right? So we're just picking one little piece. I'm hearing rejection, and I'm thinking where you have put in so much work and effort, we need to switch up the strategy. We need to switch up the strategy. And I think with, because to me, I feel like you are so resistant. I could see you can go through, let's say, so much, but it's as if like pitfalls, pitfalls, and then it's like you levitate, and it's as if it never, you like nothing even happened. And imagine this pitfall is full of sand, it's full of all of those qualities to make someone stuck, right? Sprinkle with water, right? But you, some way, somehow levitate. And I think it is many different things. You're led, right? We got to take your power back. We're not going to give that power to the juju peeps, right? We're going to take your power back because, yes, we know that we deal with good and bad and light and dark. We need to move more towards the light, right? Quite honestly, because if you feel that, that's a spiritual warfare, right? Now, if we go back into more of the clinical lens, right, that means that we need to offer more. There's receptors that are prohibiting the brain to receive the endorphins, right? So they are being suppressed by examples of rejection, being suppressed. The nose, it's like layers, layers, and layers of the nose. So now we have to peel those layers to come back to the source, right? Come back to you, as that's the reject, that's the working it out, re-strategizing, switching up the plan, because what's going on is no. And I'm thinking, you are, this right here is something I've never seen before. I've never seen any the way that you're being vulnerable right now, and you're allowing me to guide you and showing it for the world is something very new.
And it's amazing that you said that in addition to switching things up, because this is the first time I've ever done this. This is the first video episode that we've ever done. Like, I literally feel like, first of all, before we even started, I already felt lighter that you're just here to listen.
Mhm,
That I'm not just recycling these thoughts and these feelings inside my spirit, inside my head. That
mhm.
already made me feel lighter. But when you said switch things up, this is literally what I'm doing right now. I feel like I'm walking, I'm living in my cure as we talk right now.
Oh, how powerful. Go. I don't want to stop it. I'm gonna be quiet. Talk about that. Feel what
Now,
that feels like right now. Cause
I don't want to get too excited because I still feel like it's still a lot that I got to work through, but it does give me where I couldn't see hope before.
mhm,
I'm starting to see that hope. I'm starting to see that I'm receiving the downloads. I'm receiving the messages, the same messages that told me to call you 3:30 in the morning last night. The same messages that told me to record this episode without us even talking about it or thinking about it.
Right. Diving in, straight diving in. It's not by chance. Can I tell you something I didn't share? Because we're this is very candid, right? And it's all new. And we're letting universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it, guide us, right? I I also have a wellness brand, but I call myself the queen of self-care, but that's not the point right now. The whole point is at the end of the night, one lady came up to me and she spoke over me. Literally, it was last night. And I remember you mentioning as we were texting about holding back, right? And holding yourself back. And she was speaking life into me, Darnell. I'm giving the full name, Darnell Davis. Okay, I'm calling it. Not Nelly, not shortening it. I'm calling your name because as you were experiencing a download, I was receiving and I'm always giving. So I rarely get anyone that speaks life into me. And that makes me emotional, even being like talking about it. So when Shorty was talking to me, it was like filling my cup. I'm like, my God. In the same breath, as I was ending our conversation, I told her I got home safe. It was all good. You send a text. And she had already spoke over just so many beautiful things if you just answer the call. And so that's why I couldn't sleep. I was supposed to receive this message from you last night. And it is confirmation that you are walking in your truth, right? And so we will definitely get to steps of like how to fix you, right? But you're not broken.
Yeah, I just felt so empty. I felt so drained. I felt like I've given so much. I created, like I said earlier, I created this platform. I created Make Love to You to use my pain, to use my story, to use my journey to help as many people as possible. But
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like I was empty. I had nothing left to give. And again, my client, Kevin, who urged me to create this episode right now where I'm showing exactly me walking through the process of healing. It's not meant for me to give at this point. It's meant for me, it's meant for me to just show,
Mm-hmm.
show this process, show this journey, and allow other people to find their own way in the same light, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Right.
So I guess my question to you is when somebody who might be listening to this, and me for that matter, when we feel this spiral happening,
Mm-hmm.
what's the first thing that we can do to anchor ourselves? Like to stop it or to stop feeling like, you know, we just keep going down.
Right, right. Anchor is such a great visualization. I think the first step is really thinking about how you're feeling in that present moment in your body and allocating where the weakness is, where the heaviness and the weight is, and really um, talking and speaking to it. Because we have our outside masks, right? But it's really that internal dialogue that we have to really motivate, right? So I think acknowledging the fact that I'm in a low place right now, right? So instead of putting all these lofty goals, or if we're scrolling on the thing and we're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try to make that recipe. Oh, I'm gonna go working out tomorrow, knowing damn well you haven't worked out in three weeks, or you know what I mean, or 3 years, right? So that's not realistic. But if we could quantify it and say, all right, I would like to be more healthy. I would like to be more fit. I will give myself some time to get into that space. So we quantify it. Once a month, I am going to go and, meal prep or meal plan or whatever your goal is. It's really being real and honest with yourself. So the first step is, I would say, is really acknowledging I'm in a tough place, right? We're not going to denial, like, is the root. It will just keep us sugarcoating what's really going on. And then also strengthening our internal dialogue with ourselves, I think can be very, very supportive, right? You catch yourself. Like sometimes when I have self-negative talk, I name her. I'm like, oh my God, here comes Here comes Susie talking her talk now.
Where'd you get
Susie,
Susie
shut
from?
Susie. It always changes. I'll be like Bertha, Becca. I'll be like, really?
Bertha.
Depending on the context, right? So Susie at that time felt very annoying to me, and she had a high pitched voice, but that was the character. I'm like, Susie, if you don't shut your ass up, if you don't shut up, right, and to keep it moving, right? Or if I find myself saying something that's really negative, I'm like, oh, so really, really working on it like a muscle. If you're gonna push yourself and do reps of 10 reps and frequency 15, like you know that world, right? And that's something, a world that you know. But your world here, we have to strengthen it up too when we're talking about self-negative talk, right? Because we need to really push through no matter what. It's really us that is going to do that because no one else is going to do that for you, right? And then the third one I think is really, again, thinking about the self, the interpersonal, and the environment. So we're acknowledging I'm in a rough place. Interpersonal could be like, I'm going to reach out this month. I'm going to reach out to one friend. Self isolation it is so scary, and it's lonely, and it's okay to be by yourself, but at when you really need community at that point, and you don't need a whole like pity party, but a good phone call from a friend, a good hug can go a long way, right? And then the third is environment. So you have a beach readily accessible for you. Maybe someone has their stoop, right? Well, you better be out on that stoop. You feel the wind in your hair. You have the ability to feel, think about your senses and touch, taste, smell, scent, touch all of them, right? There's some people that have no vision. There's so many people that cannot walk. There's so many people cannot talk, can't even raise their hand all the way up, right? So if you're on your stoop and you feel that breeze and you have the ability to feel it and really understand that you're connected to a higher source, I think it will shift your environment. It will shift your mindset. And I don't know if that is like the cure. I love when you said, I'm the living cure right now.
I'm walking in the cure or
I'm
something.
walking in the cure. Yeah. I love that because we have all the tools, but sometimes our pain, our depression, and our rejection blinds us, or we can't see it. You know what I mean?
I know for a fact, being this person, for lack of better terms, a healer who likes to help so many other people heal through their pain, I felt this overwhelming sense of embarrassment, shame that I wasn't strong enough to deliver this message, that I felt like I needed help to help me deliver this message. So for anybody else that might be feeling like this, ashamed for not being strong enough, like, what's your perspective on that?
Right. Honestly, it's really it's a lot of it's twofold, right? Because again, when I talked about the mass that we have here and then the internal, I think shame is a difficult, really, it's difficult to manage because it's also always put on us. We put our own shame on. When those that are looking outside and with your vest and your no shirt on, they like, ooh, what? Right? That's what people, that's the surface talking. That's the mask. That is, right? They don't know what you're going through, that you barely can get your dog out here. You do, whatever the conversation is there, they don't see that. So our shame is really, you're not on it, our shame is put on us. We are putting that on us, right? So you have to check that sometimes, right? We could go for a while, but it comes a point in a time we hear those signs, man, this is it. You need to go for it. Or you look good today when you're walking past someone, right? Taking those signs that because we are not living just by ourselves, we are guided. People throw you these signs. You see how we were all ready, right? Make an acronym for yourself, something that motivates you. Mine used to be back in the days, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That was the thing that got me through, my journey was not easy either. I was the mama of my grad school group. I was older, right? 35. What's she doing in grad school? But that is what I said to myself. That's not how they looked at me. That you're strong. That's awesome. Go. But me, it wasn't, my shame was my own walking shame. They did not say that to me, so we have to check it.
I'm taking away so many things from this call. Like I said, And from the beginning of it, I've already felt so uplifted. The first thing is acknowledging it, not being ashamed of it, identifying it, eliminating the self-talk. I know you
Mm-hmm.
got your nicknames for all these different characteristics and personalities
Mm-hmm.
and things. For me personally, I talk to the inner child. I talk to little Darnell.
Wow.
I find that's when I have that group chat. And this
Mm-hmm.
morning before we got on this call, when I was in the ocean, that's what I told him. I said, Darnell, everything's gonna be okay. And just acknowledging, because at that point I was able to step outside of myself. Talking to Darnell allowed me to step outside of Darnell. And then that separated me from the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, what today showed me during this call is, like you said, the answer is always there. And I'm a solution driven person anyway. Like I don't want to stay stuck. And that's why over these last couple weeks, these last couple months, it's been so overwhelming because I felt stuck. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was literally standing in quicksand. But when I received those downloads last night, letting me know to reach out to you, to reach out to Deb, to reach out to Gabe, to reach out to Gary, to reach out to these people who I haven't talked to in years. But and the funny thing is, when I said, like you said, I reached out to everybody who is a part of me, therapist, a comedian, a spiritual healer, an astrologer, because I'm so into the stars.
That's you.
I knew I wanted to reach out to these titles, but first thing I'm thinking to myself, do I know a therapist? Oh my God, yes. I love a therapist. You know what I mean? Do I
Mm-hmm.
know a comedian? And the funny thing, the comedian Gary, he
Mm-hmm.
just hit me on Facebook 3 or 4 days ago. Yo, bro, how you doing? Me and Gary haven't talked in about 5 years. And he
Mm-hmm.
hit me up out of nowhere. Yo, bro,
Right.
how you doing? And at that moment, I was so depressed, and I wanted to tell him, bro, I'm so depressed right now. But I just
Right.
was like, hey, I'm cool, bro. How you doing? And his joy, I could feel it through the text message. Oh,
Mm.
God, it's blessed me so much. And like I was like, oh my God, I wish I can feel his joy. But
That.
when I'm thinking about what comedian I can call, the bottom line is, like you said, the answers are always there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We
They're
just got to be
always there.
willing to receive them.
Right. Right. Even when I'm just thinking of the parallels, I said, I'm going to call you by your full name. If I remembered your middle name, I would have too, but we may not live on the
Lights
same
out,
street. But
lights out,
that's it.
lights
Lightel.
out.
Okay. I don't think I've ever known it. Okay. Darnell Lightel Davis.
Davis.
Wow. You're right. And something in my spirit said, call him by his name. So hearing your inner child is Darnell. Really, that's how you address him is also another,
And the
like
funny thing is, when I left the
uh,
States, with the first country I lived in outside of the States was Australia.
mm-hmm.
And in Australia, they put an IE on everything.
Ah,
You wouldn't be Dominique, you'd be Dommy. You know
uh,
what I mean?
hey, Tommy.
So I became Nelly, in Australia.
Nelly.
Before Australia, everybody called me Darnell or Nell.
Darnell.
You get what I
Now.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But when I moved to Australia, I became Nelly. And I kind of liked that new identity so much that when I came back to the States and people would call me anything other than Nelly, I would cringe. And
Wow.
it's only recently that I've accepted that's my name.
Darnell.
My name is Darnell.
Right, right,
But
right.
I'm just, like I said, I already feel again like I'm walking in the cure. I love you so much for taking the time to jump on this. And I want to continue to explore this because I don't think this is the last conversation that we're going to have on this.
I don't think so either. I don't think so. I feel it. That's why I was going lean into it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is something that we're destined for. So we're going to continue to cultivate it.
But let me just ask you this. If somebody else listening right now and they're feeling like they're drowning in their depression and they want to reach out to you, like how can somebody else get in contact with you? Please share your information with my
Of course.
society here. You know what I
Of
mean? So
course.
what's the
Yeah.
best way that they can reach you?
I think the best way is email DASITF at gmail
DASITF.
at gmail.com.
Uh,
DASITF at gmail.com. And there's also the website DASITF at .com. I'm present. There's only one Dominique Andres Fickery. So you could find me. And yeah, You guys could type in Darnell follower. You would see me. You'll find me. Just if you want something personal, like it really need a consultation or anything, but dasif@gmail.com. And I'm very accessible.
Well, I definitely feel like I'm one step closer to walking out of this darkness that I've been in for a
Mm-hmm.
while. I'm so happy that I was able to share you
Mm-hmm.
and share this moment with everybody out there. And I just love you for your light. I love
I
you for
love you
being
too.
you. I love
Mm-hmm.
you for your love. And thank you so much. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much, Dom. I've really taken so much out of this, and I hope everybody else watching did as well.
Thank you. Love you too, V. Okay.
Thank
I'll
you,
see
babe.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Ciao.
The mailman's here, got the vibe on cue. Talking about love like it's fresh and new. Self-care's the jam, yeah, that's the deal. Love yourself hard, let your heart heal. Make love to you, it's the name of the game. Life's too short to live in shame. Love yourself like the sun loves the